Sure, so, first and foremost, like Magnus Alpha is the Latin words for great and dominant. So Magnus Alpha represents great dominance in understanding who you are, having self-confidence, igniting the belief that you are much more than you're perceived to be. There's a luxury in being a product of an immigrant. Sure, man, with pleasure. Born and raised in New York, immigrant parents from the Dominican Republic. Obviously, they spoke Spanish, first 10 years of my life. So technically, Spanish was the first language for me. English came second after starting to go to school, after elementary. That's when I started to grasp the American culture. So give or take, 6 years or whatever to really get a grasp of it. So I always looked at everything from the lens of a product of an immigrant, from their eyes. That's how I saw the world. So that was instilled in me, that I inherited that point of view in life. For example, I grew up going to the Dominican Republic every summer from the age of 1 till about 10. And that was a culture, because of my parents, it's a culture that invited me in, even though I was an American. I took showers in the alleyways out of buckets with the neighborhood kids, and when it rained outside, we would jump outside and take a bath in the rain and just run around. And the culture, the food, the music, I was so more of that than I was of the American culture. So the American culture kind of became a culture shock, within my early years of being more acclimated in school, in elementary school, eventually junior high. So, becoming this mature product of an immigrant allowed me to see the world from two vantage points. One of this island in the Caribbean and one of this hustling, bustling city of New York, born and raised in Queens. So, this was an interesting juxtaposition to go about life, to understand that there's so much more outside of the city I live in. So that was an early acknowledgement for me, that there's so much more out there. And then New York was also an opportunity for me to experience other cultures. I grew up in a 6-story building, and every floor had 3 different to 4 different nationalities on the one floor, let alone 6 floors. So you imagine the different smell of cuisines during lunchtime, the different music blaring out of the windows, the different style of dress, from the moms, the Indian moms to the Korean moms and dads and verse, Hispanics, blacks. It was just a melting pot of cultures. So that was something that I take very, very seriously, and I appreciate the different cultures, the opposite of being closed-minded and very hypocritical or one-sided about anything. I always look at things like there's a different side to everything, and I'm always looking to find the other side of where someone else is coming from. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's
like the yin and the yang.
It's
the positive and negative.
Yep.
And how those things, all the polar opposites, are the most powerful thing.
Exactly, 100%. So basically for me, I always went about life seeking that experience from a different perspective, because I got that early on in life. I saw things from a different perspective right away. So I was always like, what's your perspective as a Filipino? What's your perspective as a Guyanese? You know what I mean? Like, how do I find your little, common culture, traditions,
common denominator for you.